I'm Dawn Daniels, wife to Nikki Daniels. I'm also a North Carolina bail agent with DNA Bail Bonds. Like my husband said, Mickey Biggs appeared in our office. When the conversation was turned over to him, both my husband and I spoke and said we did not want to speak with you without the presence of an attorney. Our feelings come from knowing what the Smiths have gone through for the past 3 years, and we wanted to be protected. After saying so, I did tell Mr. Biggs that I did not want to go any further with this meeting. He abruptly stood up and he told us that he had jurisdiction over our files. Me not knowing any better, I just took his word for it. I have since been told he should have had a warrant to search my office. He proceeded to my file cabinets and he went through not only business-related files, consumer-related files. He went through my business-related files, which are also personal to me. It appeared that he was searching for something a little bit more than just Yolanda Smith's folder, where my husband had posted bond for her. He, in return, went through a few files, some pertaining to our Paytel folder, which is the correctional billing where we put money on an account for inmates to call us. He went through that file with a fine-tooth comb. He also went through my general agent's file with a fine-tooth comb. That file consists of my weekly reports of all bonds written from week to week. My assumption was that he was trying to see if there was any correlation between DNA bail bonds in Smithfield, North Carolina, and possibly CAD bail bond in Lumberton, North Carolina. He did not find anything because there is no correlation between the two or any of the individuals. He then proceeded to go to the very back of my file cabinet where we had some old flyers. They're very old flyers, probably about 2 or 3 years ago, that I created when we were marketing our business. He proceeded to go through every single flyer one by one as if I was hiding something in between. One stack of the flyers was already pre-folded for distributing purposes. He literally sat on my floor on his knees opening up every single one, again appearing that we were hiding something in between the flyers. He then stood up after he hadn't found anything and he requested Yolanda Smith's folder. But let me back up. He kept repeating over and over and over, I want to see your business files, I want to see your business files. And I said, sir, what are you looking for? And he would never say what he was looking for, he would just keep repeating it. Finally, after searching through those cabinets, he asked for Yolanda's folder. That was still in my inbox on my desk. We went and provided him the folder. He said he wanted copies of everything in the folder. He then proceeded to go through the documents, and there's a document called an appearance bond. And on the back of the appearance bond, he turned it over. On the back of that piece of paper, it documents how much a bondsman was going to charge an individual and how much they actually paid. The amount written on the back of that paper was $2,500. Yolanda Smith's bond was $25,000. He asked my husband, where is the receipt for the $2,500? And my husband, again, we didn't want to speak with him without the presence of an attorney, so we were only answering questions fairly blatantly. Nikki answered, I actually didn't collect that. That was the last question that Mickey Biggs asked. He had a few more words with Twyla Covington. She said goodbye. They walked out. Again, this was on a Monday. I was getting ready that following Wednesday. My husband and I were preparing to go to the office, and he receives a phone call from Twyla Covington, another Department of Insurance investigator. She informed my husband that he needed to meet them at the Johnston County Sheriff's Office, that they had warrants out for his arrest. And I'll let him tell you exactly what she said to him.
So let me ask you a question. From the time that you saw Mr. Biggs in Robeson County, how many days had passed till the day you were till the day he came to your office, and then the day that you had a warrant for your arrest? How many days had passed between the first day you saw him in Robeson County?
5 days.
5 days had passed before he came to your office?
Yes.
And then, so that would make it 7 days or so when you were actually
Told that he had warrants.
Told he had warrants.
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
Miss Covington called me. I asked her what were my charges. She said, well, I'll let Mr. Biggs discuss that. And I asked her, I said, well, who can bond me out? She proceeded to tell me no one associated with DNA bail bonds can bond me out, which includes my wife and 6 of our agents,
So
5 of our agents.
So let me ask you another question here. So are you saying at this standpoint, had your license, had DNA license or any other individual, including your wife who is a licensed bail agent at that time, she was a licensed or still is a licensed bail agent, is that correct?
Yes.
And at that time, her license was in good standing?
Yes, her license and all of my agents' license were in good standings.
Okay. Now, let me ask you another question. You're saying that, what was her name again?
Twyla Covington.
Twyla Covington. And she is also a Department of Insurance investigator.
Yes.
Okay. She told you at that time when you asked her, who can bail me out, she told you what?
That no one affiliated with DNA bail bonds can bail me out.
That includes your wife?
That includes my wife and either 5 of our agents.
So you were denied the ability to choose your bail agency?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
From there?
From there, we obviously had to line up a bail agent to bond my husband out. We lined up an individual out of Raleigh, North Carolina. The 3 of us went to the Johnston County Magistrate's office together, and my husband and I actually went into the magistrate's office to find out what the charges were. My husband was told by Magistrate Stephen Woods that he had felony obstruction of justice with misdemeanor dishonest business practice and felony perjury with misdemeanor unlawful business association. My husband has never had any prior felonies, nor does he have a criminal record. Felonies result in a bail agent losing their license. So at that moment, I felt like here we are now in Mickey Biggs' web. For my husband going to the aid of a family who has been destroyed by Mr. Mickey Biggs, we now are involved in his web of destruction. Our Johnston County Magistrate.
So let me ask you a question about that. So what you're saying is you feel that you were retaliated, you and your husband and your business, you all were retaliated against because you went to the aid of the Smiths.
Yes. Because other than that, we still didn't understand where the crime that he was being alleged to have committed, we were still oblivious to what the actual crime was.
And then to remind us that he did tell Mr. Daniels when he went to bail out Miss Smith, he did say your license would be in jeopardy. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So after the magistrate told us what the charges were, he shared with us that he could set the bond for $5,000, but that he was only going to set it for $2,500 and combine the charges. Then he proceeded to joke with my husband and say, because I know you're not going to run Nikki. We happen to own a bail bond company that's pretty reputable in Johnston County. After we found out what the charges and the bond was going to be, my husband proceeded to turn himself into the Johnston County Sheriff's Department, and after doing so, a sheriff came out to tell me that an investigator was coming to pick my husband up and take him to Robeson County. I questioned, why is that when the warrants can be served statewide? So I didn't understand why my husband was being taken from one facility to another. A few hours went by. I continued to call the Robeson County Detention Center. They kept telling me they did not have my husband. I finally called the Department of Insurance and requested that I get Mickey J. Biggs' cell phone number. When I finally got it with Mickey Biggs...
Let me ask you another question. Now, you said when you called to bail your husband out,
No.
or when you called for your husband, they did not have your husband.
They did not have him.
Can y'all tell us where he was and what happened?
At the time, I didn't know where he was, and that's why I became overly concerned.
Well, let me ask Mr. Daniels, where did they take you?
Mr. Biggs took me to the Lumberton Police Department, which questions have arose. Why did he feel the need to take me to the Lumberton Police Department instead of taking me straight to the detention center?
And while you were there, how long do you think you were there?
I'd say probably 30 or 40 minutes.
And while you were there for those 30 or 40 minutes, did anything happen there that made you feel a certain way? Anything said, any actions taken, any humiliations, retaliation, or anything like that? Did anything happen there?
It just seemed like, he gloating on being in the police department with somebody doing what he do amongst his peers.
Okay. Seemed like he was making a show of things.
Mr. Mickey J. Biggs was a Lumberton police officer for 25 years. He retired, I believe, in 2007, which he has remained on the auxiliary police force, which are, from what I understand, officers that are called into duty. Like I said, I could not get up with my husband to find out if he was in the Robinson County Detention Center. Once I got up with Mickey J. Biggs, he informed me when I asked him, I said, can you tell me where my husband is? He says he's in jail at the Robinson County Detention Center. And I said, well, I keep calling. They say they don't have him. And he chuckled and he said, he's there now. My husband was fingerprinted at the Lumberton Police Department, and I don't even quite understand that step because the Robinson County Detention Center would have proceeded in doing that duty to my husband once he was received and booked in. So I personally feel like there is a statute that says a law enforcement officer is supposed to take a detainee in front of a magistrate without unnecessary delay. I consider this an unnecessary delay. For hours I looked for my husband and I could not find him. For him to proceed in fingerprinting knowing my husband was going to be fingerprinted at the detention center is unnecessary. I also feel that not only was my husband paraded around to the Lumberton Police Department, but the Smiths were also taken to the Lumberton Police Department before being taken to jail. So this is a big question we have. How is it that Mr. Mickey J. Biggs can intertwine his two duties as an auxiliary police officer as well as a North Carolina Department of Insurance investigator?
And again, like you said, delay the arrest.
Delayed the arrest. I had another bail bondsman prepared to bond him out because, again, I was not allowed to perform my duties, so I do feel like my civil rights were violated. I have my license. I've earned my license through the state of North Carolina as well as my 5 agents. I had the first bail bondsman that we had to come bond out my husband in Johnston County could not go to Robinson County, so I had to seek out another bail bondsman. I had Susanna Spearman from Harnett County, who also writes for my same insurance company and my general agent. She was instructed by my general agent to go bond out Nikki Daniels. My general agent, we have been with them for about 3 years now, and she said, you go get your husband out. I don't care what it costs. He does not deserve this. Once I found out that my husband was booked into the Robinson County Detention Center, his bond was $75,000. I was very, very distraught. How did I just go from possibly a $5,000 bond for my husband, but it was only going to be $2,500? He turned himself in. He does not have a criminal history. He has ties to our community. He's not a flight risk. So why was it his bond was $75,000? From my personal opinion is that Mickey Biggs, again, who was a cop for 25 years in Robinson County, he may have some personal influence over some of the magistrates and the other leaders in Robinson County. So we proceeded to go to the jail. I was actually informed not to go near the jail, that Mickey Biggs may try something with me, and I also was told that if he finds out I'm white and my husband is African American, that Mickey Biggs would not like that whatsoever, and that I also may be retaliated against. Susanna Spearman, the bondsman, proceeded to go to the jail as I waited around the corner. Some time went by and I became concerned. I could not get up with Susanna, so I decided to go to the jail. So I went to the jail to find out what was going on. And when I got there, Susanna told me, she said, Dawn, I am scared to death. She's been a bail bondsman for 8 to 10 years. She said the magistrate questioned her. Who are you? Are you in business with Nikki Daniels? And she said no. So she proceeded to write the bond, and then my husband was released. So that's pretty much our story. From what we have gathered, Mickey Biggs, when he was in our office, and he asked, where is the receipt for the $2,500? And my husband said, I actually didn't collect that. Mickey Biggs did not ask any further questions, therefore I felt like he did not investigate thoroughly. Not only that, if he had allowed an attorney to be present, then we may have answered the questions a little bit more in detail.
Let me ask you a question. Is there any law or policy against accepting payment plans
There is not.
or promises to pay?
There is not.
Is there any rules or regulations against changing the amount that you're asking for?
I was not aware of any, but
But-
this has caused my husband to have felony charges. What had happened was once Yolanda was released, she needed a ride back to her bank job where she had been arrested by the 3 U.S. Marshals. She in return handed my husband a check for $2,500. My husband and I had had a conversation, and I told him I did not want to charge my friends that much for doing their bond. So him and I discussed the